to the Fireside Chat. This is episode 5, and we're going to be talking about what do you do with your time and with yourself on snow days, rainy days, and days that you just can't homestead, possibly being sick. Uh, One of the biggest things when it's snowing out here, it may be snowing in your area, or you just might have rain, like Seattle, Washington, day after day. On those days when I have multiple days of snow, multiple days of rain, where I'm sick, if it's wintertime, I'll sit here by the wood fire, enjoy my day, playing games on the computer, watching movies, watching TV. If it's summertime, or if I'm not running the stove, I lay on my couch and I watch my big screen TV. I have an adapter for my laptop that I plug into my TV, and I'm able to play games, watch movies, watch TV shows, and do YouTube on my big screen TV. So that way I have better entertainment than a tiny little screen of my laptop. Another thing I'll do is if we have multiple days in a row, I'll leave the homestead. I'll go to town, I'll run errands, I'll look at things, I'll go to the hot springs. We have hot springs here in Colorado, so I'll go spend the day at the hot springs. Not only does that get me out of the homestead so I don't have cabin fever, but it also gives me socialization. I know a bunch of people at the hot springs who are regulars. So when I go to the hot springs, I spend the day talking and enjoying the comfort of being around other people and socializing and finding out different things that I didn't know. Another thing I do when we have multiple days is I'll work on my next project. As for 2018, in my previous videos, I've stated that I'll be getting honeybees and pigs. I'm not going to wait until May of 2018 to look up how do I take care of bees? How do I take care of pigs? I'm going to do that stuff now. The best homesteading advice I can give you is do all the research you can before you even get involved. Think about what your goal is, research it, build the infrastructure, and then go ahead and get the animals and work from there, or work on the garden, whatever your plan is. One of the problems that I have on the homestead that I'm sure a lot of other homesteaders have, and I'm sure there's some of you watching because I watch other videos, is you get into a rut of being lazy. Now, yes, I want to be a lazy homesteader, but in some circumstances, it doesn't pay to be lazy. So the other day when I was doing fencing, as you can see in my earlier video, I was fencing all day. It was a beautiful day out, sunshine, some clouds. And what did I not do? One, I didn't bring in firewood. So my firewood pile is dwindling. I've got probably another 3 days until I'm out of firewood inside. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping the weather gets nice in the next 3 days and I can bring in firewood. But the more important thing is, since my 3,000-gallon cistern isn't plumbed to my well pump, and I'm using the 700-gallon that I have underneath my house, I never transferred water that day. I could have set up the hoses, set up the pump, ran the generator that day while I was fencing, and moved water, and come up every 45 minutes and check to make sure my pump doesn't go dry. Big mistake. You would think after 5.5 years, I wouldn't be making these mistakes. But as a homesteader, you have a hell of a lot more time on your hands. You have other projects, other things on your mind, and it goes to the wayside. You're like, tomorrow's going to be beautiful. I'll do it tomorrow. Unfortunately, we've had 2.5 days of snow, and they're saying the next 2 days are going to be snow. Well, when I was making my easy canned good vegetable soup video a little while ago, I went to do dishes. Clicked on the well pump to repressurize my tank because I was almost out of pressure for my water. And my pump starts aerating. Basically, what it does when my tanks are going dry is you hear air bubbles. It's like a gurgling noise. Well, that means I finally used the 700 gallons underneath my house. I had 2 days. I could have moved water. I didn't move water. So you know what I get to do tomorrow? I get to put on my full Carhartt suit. I get to put on my hat, my gloves, my boots. I get to move all the carpet and snow that's piled on top of the valve for the 3,000 gallon cistern so it doesn't freeze. I get to shovel out a path to run the hose from the cistern to my house. And then I get to run the electric line from the other side of my house where the generator is over to the cistern. So tomorrow I can pump water into my house, fill the 700 gallons, and have water once again in the house. Unfortunately, I didn't do it on a nice day. So to take up my time and deal with days of snow and rain, I get to do it in the snow. By not doing it on the nice day, I get to suffer in the snow. I'm going to be cold. I'm going to be wet. I'm going to be miserable. But that's the life of homesteading. That's the life of being off-grid. I'd rather have to make this mistake over and over, unfortunately, which hopefully this summer or this fall, the 3,000 gallon cistern will be plumbed to the house. So I'll have the pump that will pump it from outside. I won't have to worry about transferring water except from my downspout tanks to the big cistern. And actually, I was going to cut out the tanks, the 700 gallons underneath my house, and turn that into a root cellar. What I'm thinking about now that I've grown a garden in my bathroom, and now that I have 150 animals, I found out I'm using a lot more water. And water is life. Without water, you go nowhere. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to set up the 3,000 gallon cistern to my water pump. And then I'm going to have a blow off section of pipe from the pump that will pump the water from the 3,000 gallon into the 700 gallons underneath my house. And then I'll have a bivalve that the pump can either draw from the 3,000 gallon cistern outside or it can draw from the 700 gallon cistern inside. By doing that, that gives me 700 gallons more storage capacity, where if I cut it out, I'll lose that 700 gallons, and that could mean a lot in the winter months and during the late summer in our drought months. Another thing I do when I have a bunch of snow days is I'll start planning out the next year. I'll start planning out the next 5 years, and I'll fine tune. As I've shown in an earlier video, behind me I have 2 big dry erase boards. I have monthly goals, I have 3 months goals, and yearly goals. I'll go through, and already there's a couple things on 2017 that I'm not going to be able to go ahead and do. So I'm going to have to erase those goals. It's not that I can't do those goals, but it's more important for me to get a chicken plucker and spend the money into that goal than the other goals that I had. Because for me to spend the money on the chicken plucker, I'll be able to reduce the amount of animals I'll have. I'll be able to reduce the money I spend at the grocery store by putting meat in my freezer. And I'll be able to reduce the amount of feed that I have to buy for the amount of animals I have. By doing that, I can turn around, take the money from all those locations that I'm saving, and then in 2018, I'll be able to roll that money over and start new goals, start new adventures, get the honeybees, get the pigs, etc., and grow bigger. One of the goals will be Within 10 years, I want to have 250 fruit trees on this property. I want to have an orchard along with keeping my pine trees. So what I'm going to have to start doing is I'm going to have to start clearing dead wood. I'm going to move that dead wood and the dead trees and turn them into hugelkultur beds. By turning them into hugelkultur beds, it's getting rid of the waste, which opens up space for trees. And then it's giving me new grow beds to grow more vegetables to feed more animals. One of the reasons I don't want to get rid of pine trees is pine trees, a lot of people don't know this, is a natural dewormer. My Anatolian shepherds eat and chew on the pine sticks that I throw in for the goats and the rabbits. The goats will eat the pine needles and the bark and the sap, and the rabbits will eat the bark and the sap. Then it leaves wooden sticks that I can either burn or put into a hugelkultur bed. By doing that, I'm not putting any medication in my animals. When I start doing baby chicks, baby turkeys, baby ducks, instead of buying antibiotics and everything like that that they tell you to do, I'm not going to do that. My animals will have fresh water, they will have good, healthy food, and we will find out what survives and what doesn't survive. As another avenue to escape your mind is finding something you like to do. Whether that be research like I like. There's homesteaders that get into sewing and crochet, woodworking, taxidermy, trapping. One of the things that I would like to do, I'm going to start calling taxidermy people next, probably late fall. I was going to start it this winter, but I'm not prepared for it. But I'm going to start calling taxidermy people next fall. And I'm going to try to go and work with either some trappers or some taxidermy people and learn how to tan hides. That's going to be, hopefully, one of my avenues of getting away from bad weather days. One thing I would like to do with the tanning of hides, I'm raising rabbits. I have a 160-foot pen by about 60 foot wide. It narrows in some spaces, but it's a humongous pen for all the animals. I put chicken wire at the lower part of the section and put about a foot out onto the ground and use landscaping pins to nail it down, which you can see in my fencing videos. That way, I'm on granite. The rabbits can't really dig because they hit a boulder or they hit rock or they hit solid granite. They don't go nowhere. They stay inside the pen. By having them run free, I think I have 30 or 40 rabbits. They're going to start producing come spring, which I'll be making videos. I'm going to make a couple more rabbit nesting areas. They're going to give off babies. Hopefully by next fall, I can be up to a couple hundred rabbits. And if everything goes well, learning how to tan hides, if I can find somebody that I can go help them out, where they don't pay me, I do it for free. I volunteer my services, and in exchange, I'm learning a trade. If I can learn that trade, and I like the trade, then my goal is to start butchering the rabbits to feed my dogs. And also I can boil the carcasses, which the chickens will eat, which will give them protein for the eggs. I also will turn around and take the rabbit pelts. I'll tan the hides. And then what I would like to do is start cutting them into rectangles. And I'll have a pelt as a rectangle. I'll get a sewing machine. And I'm going to learn how to start sewing. The military taught us how to sew patches and buttons when they broke off our pants and things like that. But what I would like to do as a way of revenue which as a homesteader, there's multiple ways of revenue, is I'm going to start looking at trying to make rabbit pelt quilts. It's going to be, I think I figured it out. I want 6 foot wide by about 7 foot long. So that way I can take the quilts, I can put one on my bed with the fur side up in the winter. Not only will that really be soft and plush to lay on and comfortable, but wintertime, that rabbit fur will keep my bed better insulated and it will better regulate my body temperature like it regulates a rabbit's body. If I can get good at it and I make my quilt almost perfect, or in my mind as good as I can get it, then I will go ahead, if I enjoy doing it, if I had fun doing it, I'll start making videos and I'll show you how to tan rabbit hides and how to make rabbit pelt quilts. And basically what I'm going to do is, if I did enjoy it and everything, I'm going to start that as a hobby business. Wintertime, I will have my freezer stacked. I have a extra large freezer. I can use 2 shelves during the spring, summer, and fall as I butcher rabbits for meals for me, for my dogs. I'll stack the pelts in my freezer. I'll tan the hides during the winter or on rainy days during the summer, spring, and fall. By doing that, that kills time and it also could bring in money. As far as what a rabbit pelt quilt would go for, I'm not sure. I've had people tell me they go for anywhere from $500 up to $1,200, depending on how big they are, how good you sew, and the condition of the hides. So that's going to be one thing I'm going to look into. For other avenues, I like to go for hikes. I'll hike during rainy days sometimes with my military Gore-Tex or rain ponchos. Snow, I don't go for hikes in. One, it gets way too slippery. And up here, we get up to 3.5 feet of snow at one time, and all it takes is stepping off one ledge on the side of this mountain, and you're a couple 100 feet down with a broken leg, broken back, or you cracked your head on a granite boulder and you're dead. But that's pretty much it on that. One thing you want to do, you want to stay positive. I know some days I'll sit here day after day watching TV. I'll sit here day after day watching movies. And I find I lack a purpose at that point. By sitting around so many days, the cabin fever sets in, and you start feeling I have no purpose. One of the TV shows I've been watching these past couple days, which I'm realizing that's exactly what my point's getting to, is the TV show Alone off of the History Channel. They're out there all alone trying to survive to win $500,000. And what happens is they build their shelter, they build this, they build that. Once it's all done, then it's trying to bide their time. And they sit there day after day, the same tasks. And it feels like you have no purpose. It feels like you're not part of anything. You're not doing anything. It's just a waste of time, waste of effort, waste of you even waking up. On days like that, like earlier today, I went ahead, I took a 2.5 hour nap just to clear my mind. It killed some time because on these snow days and the rain days, it's just tedious, same repetitive work. It's going out, feeding, watering the animals in the morning, sit in the house all day, and then go out in the evening, do the same thing. Now that I have a garden upstairs, I've learned that's an added benefit. I've gone up today after my nap. I looked around, I picked some green beans. I sat there looking out the window, enjoying the taste and the freshness of the green beans that I've been able to grow here while there's 2.5, 3 inches of snow outside. I went ahead, I got a bowl, I got some oil and vinegar, and got some beet greens, some lettuce, and some Swiss chards and collard greens, and I made myself a salad today. That was something that kept me preoccupied for a good half hour by working in my garden, doing something inside. I will say I was going to cut my garden next year out of the bathroom down to a few pots so it's not as much inside my bathroom so I have more space. But after realizing these last couple days in the snow how vital it is and how nice it is to have the fresh veggies and be able to cut off dead leaves and get some fresh greens for the animals in the snow, I'm sure that's going to brighten their day just like it brightened mine. I think one of the best things I've done was the garden. It's not only giving me fresh veggies, but it's giving my animals fresh veggies. And I think that's why I started getting eggs again. My chickens stopped laying eggs because of the cold. With me being off grid, I can't run heat lamps. I can't run regular grow lights in there for them to think it's still daylight throughout the winter. I can't run heating pads, things like that. My eggs dried up for the winter. But I found out the more greens that I'm giving my chickens, the more eggs I'm getting. I've gotten as many as 4 eggs now in one day. I'm averaging between 1 to 2. I went down to no eggs for about 4.5 weeks. So now that I'm getting eggs, I can make hard-boiled eggs, which I can feed to my dogs, I can feed to me, I can chop up finely and feed back to the animals, and just all the way around. It's working in a circle, working in a cycle, and making everything go smoothly, enjoying your time homesteading, and not going out of your mind. Some people like to read. I'm not a reader. I do my best investigation and research by YouTube. Yes, I have my channel. I'm teaching people as much as I can from my experience, from my journey, from my thoughts and ideas, but it's ideas that I don't have, that I don't know, that I have to research. As for bees, I have not had bees yet, so I cannot make videos on bees. I cannot teach you about bees because I have not had bees. I'm thinking tomorrow I'm going to do another fireside chat, and I'm going to go into some animal aspects. I'm going to teach you a little bit on my thoughts and ideas and my experience so far on chickens and ducks and turkeys and goats and rabbits and my Anatolian shepherds. I'm going to tell you some hardships on that. I'm going to teach you some benefits on that. I'm going to teach you how to learn, what to do, what not to do, things to look for. There are certain things that you need to be looking for on baby chicks and ducks and turkeys that can kill them. And I will have all those things, hopefully, figured out in my mind tomorrow. And I'm sure with all the snow coming, as long as it still snows tomorrow, because our weather changes erratically. But between pumping the water into my house, since I haven't done that, and getting some firewood possibly brought in, I'll do the next fireside chat and get everything worked out in my mind and get that video for you guys tomorrow. And hopefully you can learn, and hopefully come spring, unless you want to do what I did and be stubborn and get animals in the middle of the winter, then you might just pick up some chickens. You might pick up some ducks. I just might get you to that point of saying, hey, that's a good idea. I think having chickens would be fun. I think having chickens would be a benefit. And I will tell you how much time it takes and go over my schedule, financial, different costs, and things that I've experienced, learned, and mistakes. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please thumbs up, comment, share this, and subscribe to this channel. And hopefully you'll enjoy this journey alongside me and maybe create your own journey. Have a great night. Thank you for watching. Live happy, live free. That's the only way to be.